Hey y'all. So I'm 3.5 weeks into the training block for PA States, and training's going normal. Life is going normal right now. So I thought I'd take a second, and for those of you who don't know me, I thought I'd give a little bit of information about who I am and how I got started in lifting. Probably gonna do a two-parter on this one. It's a pretty good journey in my opinion. I'm really happy about where I am right now. So the whole reason I'm doing this is because I was in a dressing room earlier this week trying on dresses to take my boyfriend out to dinner, and I wanted to get a new outfit and do my hair and my makeup and really surprise him and wow him. And I overheard these two girls, probably about high school age, talking in the dressing rooms around me about how they didn't like their bodies and they couldn't wait till they were old enough to get cosmetic surgery. And of course, supportive best friend, oh, you don't need it, I need it, and all that stuff. And it really took me back and made me think about, how far I've come and how much of that has to do with lifting. So, I went to school for music education, and I graduated and got a degree in music ed and a Pennsylvania teaching certificate. 2 years out of college, and I'm not doing any of that. But so in high school, I was always involved in the arts. I took a ton of music classes. I sang in choir. I played in band. I did everything. I didn't do any sports. I wasn't athletic. I really didn't eat much because I couldn't eat in a rehearsal, and I didn't want to gain weight. So, I didn't have time to exercise. I was always in rehearsal. I just figured, I don't need to eat. It's fine. And then when I got later into high school, between the school day and different rehearsals, there was a gym like a mile down the street. So I would go and I would run. I had about half an hour at the gym, 15 minutes to get there, 15 minutes to get back. So I wasn't really athletic in high school. I did a lot of restrictive eating. I did a lot of cardio. I did do a lot of yoga as well. My mom was a yoga teacher, so I would go with her to classes when I wasn't in rehearsal or on weekends. It was a really nice way for me to de-stress. My senior week after graduating high school, I didn't go out and get drunk with friends. I didn't go to the beach with everybody else. I took up that money that I had saved and I went up to a yoga retreat in Massachusetts called Kripalu, and I went there for a 3-day intensive workshop for a specific type of yoga. Had a blast. Everything was vegan, everything vegetarian and whole food based, and I really had a great time. So I came back from that and I'm like, I'm gonna be vegetarian. I'm gonna be super healthy. Vegetarians are all skinny. I'm gonna be vegetarian. When in reality, that was just a way that I found to restrict my diet and restrict my calorie intake. So, can you be vegetarian and be healthy in high school? Of course. But if you're not someone who naturally gravitates towards being vegetarian and you just take that as I'm cutting out all these foods that I can't actually eat, maybe think about why you're doing it rather than just diving right into something that eliminates an entire food group. But yeah, so freshman year of college, I did what freshmen do. I went to classes, on weekends I went out, I partied, I drank. The vegetarian thing didn't really last long, and I ended up gaining about 15 pounds. Pretty standard, right? Freshman 15. The thing that wasn't standard was that I also had severe tonsillitis my entire freshman year. As a music major, I couldn't really get them pulled during the year. It would have put me behind an entire semester because I would have needed time to recover, and I couldn't take that time out of ensembles. So, about a month after the end of my freshman year, I got my tonsils removed, and just from that surgery alone, I lost 12 pounds. Just because I had a really long recovery. I couldn't eat any solid food for 2 weeks. When I could eat food again, it was like Jello and mashed potatoes. So I lost a lot of weight. But I was so determined not to gain that weight back that when the doctor told me, you can start exercising again, you can start trying to eat more solid foods, I immediately tried to increase my calorie expenditure by the same amount as I was increasing my calorie intake to keep me in that really extreme deficit because I was afraid of putting the weight back on. And I used that surgery to my advantage to help me lose weight. So by the time I got back to college for my sophomore year, I had gone from 128 at the end of my freshman year to 108 or 105, depending on the day, at the beginning of my sophomore year. I lost almost 20 pounds, and everyone told me how great I looked. Everyone complimented me on my weight loss and, told me what an inspiration it was to see me look so healthy and all this. What they didn't know was that I was really, really sick. I wouldn't go out to the dining hall with my friends. I started skipping meals and being like, oh, well, I have a lot of studying, or I have a lot of practicing, or I want to go to the gym. When really it was just a lot of excuses so that I didn't have to go eat. I also stopped going out and partying as much. It wasn't as fun for me. It was really stressful for me to try and pick out an outfit. I still felt really fat in everything I wore, which was ridiculous. But yeah, it really cut me off socially, and I ended up actually getting injured move-in weekend and not knowing it. All I knew was that my hips didn't feel even when I walked, and when I ran, my stride wasn't the same. So I stopped running, and I started doing the elliptical. But in order for me to reach the same calorie expenditure on the elliptical that I would reach when I ran, I had to be on there an extra 30 minutes. So I was up to an hour and a half of cardio every day, and I didn't touch a weight. I didn't even know what a weight was. About a month into the school year, September 28th actually, my now best friend, Adrian, came and pulled me off an elliptical on a Friday night and said, hey, when you're done with that, we're over here in the squat racks and you should come join us because it's really social, it's really fun, and I think you'd like it. So I was there with my roommate from freshman year, who was also still one of my best friends, and she was like, it's not really my thing, but if you want to go, we'll try it. So we went and we did it together, and I had the most remarkable night. She didn't really feel like it was for her, but I loved it, and I started lifting with them 4, 5, 6 days a week. I just threw myself all into it, learning how to squat and bench and deadlift. And the guy who actually taught me everything, for those of you in the powerlifting circuit, is Matt Sommer. He just squatted 800 pounds plus. Congratulations to him, that's a huge achievement. I remember watching him try and train for that in the gym in college, and it was really cool to get to see the videos and get to see him every year at nationals, and just to catch up and say, hey, you've come a long way, and isn't this cool what this has done for our lives? But yeah, so one of their biggest things with me was I was 105, 108 pounds. I was thin, I was pretty-ish, but one of the guys actually brought up to me, he's like, hey, you sure you want to power lift? Wouldn't you rather be a fitness model? But at that point, I looked at Adrian, and I was like, wow, this girl is beautiful, she is strong, she is confident, she had thick thighs, and she was like, team no thigh gap, this is awesome, I'm strong. And I was like, I don't want to be a fitness model. That's more of the same body obsession I have right now. I looked at her and I was like, I want to be more like her. So that's one of the things that I really strive to be now for other people, is someone who promotes body positivity and promotes other girls getting in the gym and trying to lift weights, because the transformation I've had in my life has been outstanding. And when I told them that yes, I wanted to do powerlifting, yes, this was what I wanted to do moving forward with my life and with my fitness, they were like, alright, well, we're gonna, we all go out to eat normally after we're done lifting, so I'm along for that. And Matt put me on the ice cream diet, which was every time he and I would go and get food, we would get ice cream at the end of dinner. I needed the calcium. I had a stress fracture in my hip, so I was on crutches by this point, which meant I was bench only. For everyone wondering how my bench got so good, all I could do for 4 months was bench. So if the first 4 months of your lifting career is all one lift, you get really good and really confident at that one lift and play catch up with the rest of them. But Matt put me on what I refer to as the ice cream diet, and I started to gain weight. But the cool thing was that I didn't have a scale in my dorm room, and I didn't bother with the scale at the gym because no one said, hey, let's weigh you. No one bothered to tell me to do cardio because I had been on crutches and I had had a fracture, and like it wasn't a priority for me to be small. It was a priority for me to gain strength and for me to learn these lifts. So by the end of my sophomore year, I was squatting, benching, and deadlifting. I got cleared to start doing lower body movements towards the end of February, and I decided probably April or May that I wanted to do a powerlifting meet. So Nat told me about federations, told me to find one in my area, and to just sign up and give it a try. And that's what I did. Trying to think what year it was, but June, probably have a membership card somewhere. Yeah. June, I want to say 2013, I did my first powerlifting meet with 100% raw. It was the PA American Challenge, and I fell in love with the sport. So yeah, I did my first ever powerlifting meet in June of 2013 in Fort Washington, Pennsylvania, which is really close to where I grew up and where I live right now. And I fell in love with the sport. I was there, I weighed in, I did the 123 weight class. I was really nervous. I had to lose like 5 or 6 pounds for this weight class, and I read online that you could lose it all that week, and I was like, yeah, I can do this, no problem. But I was really, really stressed out about it. I was really nervous. I remember I didn't even want to stay for awards because I thought I just had this terrible performance and this terrible day. I didn't even realize I had made weight. Looking back on it, I should have taken the advice that I give to lifters now, which is if it's your first meet, don't worry about your weight class. Don't worry about hitting big numbers. Pick lifts that you know how to do, and that you're confident in. I also probably should have gone to C1 or read more about the rules before I competed. I had no idea there was a rack call. I had no idea there was a press call. I almost bombed out of my first meet because I missed 2 bench press calls. Luckily, they were my second and third attempts and not my first. Really lucky. But yeah, I think I finished my first powerlifting meet at 123 with a total of like 470. And I thought I had this terrible day, but for a first meet, you know, I went in, I did it, I had fun, and I didn't quit afterwards. So that's really all that, all that you can ask. So I spent the rest of the summer just kind of having fun and figuring out what I wanted to do. Eating, putting on weight, I didn't care, I wasn't going to compete again until the next year, and it didn't really matter. So my sophomore year, or my junior year, I got back to college and really 110% dedicated myself to the sport. I looked into what a macro was and how nutrition for athletes worked, and I started doing my own nutrition with IFYM and used like the calculators on their site to calculate what I needed to eat. And I worked with the guys that I had been lifting with the previous year. Even though Matt had left, I still worked with those guys to help me progress as a lifter, and I had them design me a program and just kept working towards goals and working towards goals and working towards goals. And I spent that whole year just working, lifting, living my life, eating food, having cheat meals, meeting the coolest people. I made a lot of really good friendships that year. Got really close with the guys that I lifted with. Had a really great distance friendship with the girl Adrienne who started me because she had transferred to Lock Haven to be a thrower. She is in her final season at Lock Haven and is killing it. So proud, so proud, so love, so much love. That girl is amazing. I credit her with everything I'm doing right now, because if she hadn't pulled me off an elliptical like 4 or 5 years ago, I never would have thought that this was all possible. Thanks, wifey. But yeah, so when it came time to register for that meet again, of course I signed up. I was so gung-ho. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna crush records this year. I'm gonna do great. I decided to bump up a weight class because I was nowhere close to 123. Wasn't even anywhere close to 132. I think I cut about 10 pounds for that meet, and it was a really, really terrible weight cut. I mean, like, couldn't get the weight off me, took really bad advice, sodium loaded a little too hard, couldn't water cut quite enough, ended up running laps in a hotel parking lot in sweats in the end of June in Pennsylvania. It was like 90 degrees and 100% humidity, and I was 110% miserable. But Adrian came that weekend. So Adrian came to that meet, and she wanted to cheer me on, so she came the night before, and we ate, and I barely slept that night. I was so nervous and so anxious. I had made weight, and I had these huge, lofty goals, and as you can probably guess, the meet the next day didn't go as I had planned. I set my opener squat too heavy. I opened my squats at 225, which was really too high. I probably should have opened at 200, if not 195. But I ended up bombing out on squats. I did hit the 225. I just missed my rack call on my third attempt because I was so happy I got it that I didn't wait for rack and just threw it in. I was like, yeah! And they were like, no. But I finished out the day. I didn't just leave after that. I benched and I did my deads. And I actually ended up meeting the team and the coach that I'm still working with now. Because he was like, hey, you're not a bad lifter. You're just not used to this. And I would love for you to come work with us, and I would love to see you progress as a lifter because I really think you could have a future in this. So I started training with him, and I started taking a closer look at my diet because I knew I didn't want to do that cut again. And when he told me he could get me into the 100% Raw Worlds in October, I was like, alright, I'm going to keep doing my summer. I'm doing my summer. And I had just turned 21, so I was like, I want to drink, I want to have fun, I want to do my summer the way I want to. But as soon as I got back to college for my senior year now, I started prepping for this meet, and I structured my weight cut the way a bodybuilder would structure theirs, which got me there. Got me 4 pounds under weight. I weighed in at 128 for that meet. And yeah, I had a great meet. I was really sick, but I had a great meet. I met a great coach, and I moved home in December of that year. That was 2014. I moved home. I finished out my senior year from distance. I did my student teaching in a school district near where I grew up. So I've been at my home gym for about 2 years now, training with CP in Percy. He's a great coach. He really knows a lot. I've learned a lot from him. And yeah, so that's my journey as a lifter. And next week I'll cover some more about how my journey as a lifter has shaped me as a person and has shaped the direction that I want to take my life. So be sure to hit subscribe, give me a like, and drop a comment and let me know how you got started in this sport. Did you have an Adrian who came and was like, hey, be a lady lifter with me? Or did you stumble into it through CrossFit or Olympic lifting or, your high school sports team? Did you find a video on YouTube that made you want to do it? Were you a bodybuilder who decided that they wanted to be a dual athlete? There are so many different ways to get into this sport, and I think all of them have merit, and we all have something we can bring to the table and learn from each other. So drop a comment and let me know your story. I'll see you next week.